We're back from our short break. Ms. Provo, if you wanted to do the presentation on the plebiscite question.
Thank you, Chair, and through to all of the committee. Administration is bringing forward for you this evening, look at the proposed wording to be used on a ballot for the vote on the plebiscite question, which will be held in conjunction with the October 20th, 2025 municipal election. The vote outlines the three options that are available. We worked to keep the time of everything the same and the number of wording the same, so as not to confuse or potentially you to swaying any voters for one way or the other. The proposed ballot gives voters an opportunity to indicate their support for each modernization option separately, which will in turn hopefully give council clear direction on the community's preferred option or options. The wording on the proposed motion has been seen by legal. They gave a non-legal request that we should be putting in, and that is the instruction at the top of page 45, where it starts with the estimated property tax impacts below reflect the forecasted amount of increased taxes. So they just were looking for that as a little bit of clarity at the start of and at the very end, just the disclaimer included only as estimates for the purpose of preparing and comparing these options. It is required that the wording on the plebiscite motion be approved by council, and we need to do this by September 30th to enable us to facilitate and comply with all the advertising requirements. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hollis.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, is it possible, and I realize we don't want to get too wordy, but by just picking one assessed value of a home, would there be some option to give a little bit more of, say, a 500,000 and a 600,000, just because I mean, people are looking for something tangible and looking and trying to figure out, well, my house is assessed at not 400, but it's at this, so what is that going to impact my tax? Is that something that could be added to this, or is that something that we, best practices, you usually just use that $400,000 assessed value?
Through to all of the committee, we can definitely check with legal on that. For now, at this point, we're wanting to ensure that the questions stay on one page and that we limit the amount of verbiage that we're throwing at them. We can, through other communication means, develop a publication that goes out separate from the question to maybe expand on that using the same amounts, if that is the wish of committee. But as far as the questions on the plebiscite go, you're really looking to have a yes or no answer and keeping it as clear and clean and concise as we possibly can, while still giving them a good amount of information so they know what they're voting for. I would really hesitate saying that we would like to add more options on that.
Okay, if I may follow up, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. I think for me, and if it takes a direction from committee here, but I think in the frequently asked questions, I think that would be valuable to give some homeowners that may have a higher assessed value, because you know, monitoring some of the feedback on social media, there tends to be an elevated amount of taxes on a higher assessed valued home that may not be accurate. So, you know, I think if we could give some clarity on that in the upcoming, you know, information before the plebiscite, that it may not, yeah, don't have to add it to this, but that might be helpful for some homeowners as well making their decision. So does that require a direction from committee to do that for under frequently asked questions, or?
If CAO is comfortable with it, I can take it back from here. I defer to his wisdom on how we'd like that represented.
Yeah, through the chair, if council would like to provide that as a motion, certainly can, but I think we got it, and I think that's a good suggestion, and those frequently asked questions, we are taking suggestions all the time, as these questions pop up, we've been adding it, so we can certainly take that suggestion.
So you don't need a direction from.
We don't need a direction, but if council's more comfortable with it, certainly can.
Councilor Voss, good.
The only thing is, I don't wanna be asking for something that nobody else wants either, so I mean, I don't wanna be directing, but I mean, if council has any comments on it and there is some objection to it, I could put it to the direction, but if everybody's okay with it.
I was thinking if you would give us the calculation so we could all figure it out on our own. I'm good if I don't need to hear a direction from council. That's just me. Councilor Sasha,
If that's it for Councilor Houses, if nobody else wanted to chime in. Okay, I had an individual ask me a question regarding option 3, and I thought it was a pretty good question. I'm assuming I know the answer, but I don't know for sure because it's not explicitly stated. But the $129 million capital expense, that is only for construction of the new facility. And it doesn't include anything for demolition or repurpose of the existing, correct?
That's my understanding, from reading the reports.
That's my.
And getting confirmation from my colleague that, that is, and in the calculations, we looked at the capital costs and made our calculations for the tax implications there. We did round the tax implications to the nearest $5, just, it looked a lot better in presentation, but it is capital.
If I could follow up.
certainly,
So maybe that's something also that would go in a background or FAQ or something. Because the other two options don't carry any other additional expenses with them, but option 3 does. Whatever happens with the existing rec center, it's going to carry some expense moving forward, whether it's demolished or repurposed or whatever, and I don't know that people would automatically think of that without it being pointed out. Thank you.
thank you very much. DAO, did you want to? You're good. Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, and I was just going to comment on Councilor Hodgson, but I don't need to hear any a motion to lay out all the different values, but I would like to see on that FAQ chart. Lower value properties as well. I actually suspect that people with lower value properties are also interested in hearing how much less they get to pay than people with higher value properties. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Councilor McEwen.
Yeah, I just, there was an online question and comment that I thought was pretty pertinent to folks and how they landed potentially on, say, the difference between option 1 and option 2 or 3. With the report that was published, there was just some comments pertaining to the roof structures around the arena facility. You know, and then of course, people started going back and forth about, you know, like what's sort of really the condition up there, what's the long-term sustainability. Without getting too deep down that rabbit hole here, but understanding that kind of information could be really vital to how people land on this. Do we have the ability to provide citizens with further information to sort of the overall life span or the structural integrity of the roof? Again, I would, not to be alarmist, I would love to know if we were in a position where, say, you know, like I think it was Sylvan Lake was prior to when they had a critical failure on one of their pieces years and years ago. You know, that might impact how people feel.
You know, maybe that is not within my realm. I'll ask one of my colleagues to take that.
Through the chair, I won't be able to speak to the specific assets, but the new asset management report from Associated Engineering goes into all of those details. And that's really what costs And those costs are what are built into option one to maintain, because it does contemplate renewals of those assets on a regular basis, because the recreation center is getting older. It is going to need some capital work in the future. I think that the immediate work did not include anything major. They did identify the immediate work, but they also looked at the fact that the renewal of the arenas, I believe, would occur first, and then some renewals in the assets related to the pool would happen second, and those were identified by Associated Engineering in that report.
That's good, Madam Chair, thank you.
Sure. Councillor Haas.
Yeah, I just want to, first off, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree, we need the lower assessed housing as well. But I want to support, Councillor Stashik's, comment in regards into the free, FAQ to include, that information as well, that this is, those numbers are, especially number 3 is capital, that doesn't include the demolition and all those things as well. So I think that's very important for transparency. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and I'm just going through the Associated Engineering report, and for the item number 3 or the option 3 item, it does mention in section. It's in here somewhere, but it does mention that the price for option 3 does include decommissioning of the existing facility, but it has a caveat that has to be done by 2034, as the maintenance plan for the facility has substantial costs accruing in 2034. And so I am a little bit concerned on this question that the decommissioning costs are likely actually added in, which further confuses the thing, but there may be even further costs if we go beyond 2034, which at this stage, if we're talking about a 10-year timeline, is already assumed in the plan. So my concern right now is that the option 3 value is actually too optimistic. And I'm curious, I see some smiles over there. I'm curious what our administrators think of that.
Yeah, the difficulty when going to the public on these questions is it's an incredibly complex issue that you're trying to boil down to 3 simple questions. And if you start picking on any of the options, you can pick them apart because they're all filled with assumptions, right? And when you're looking at that option 3, the demolition cost certainly can play an impact. But site selection, servicing, parking lots, all those things can also have gigantic impact on the cost of a facility. And then until you actually make all those decisions, it's a best guess. They're magnitude of scale decisions, right? It's, if you end up going down the path of new rec center, you have lots and lots and lots of additional questions, all of which impact your price and the question you ask the public. And so I just want to caution council about, delving into what do these prices include. We have the report, anyone can go through in depthly and see exactly how it was calculated. But if you start, wanting to add and subtract from them, yes, you could do that. But you're talking about magnitudes of scale in looking at the 3 options.
Thank you, sir. So, Mayor Nissen, are you good?
Yeah, good, yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Magoon.
Just a question, another question that's been thrown around quite a bit, is that bit about the 10-year time scale, with say, option 3 and the 8-year time scale on option 2. Something people have asked me was sort of like that, why that length of time? Is there, and maybe this is just as simple as money can solve all things. Is this one of those things where it's like, sure, you could have it shorter, but understand that you're gonna have to do one of 2 things. You're gonna have to find an accelerant of either like some significant cash grants and donations and or a drastic increase to taxation, over a shortened term. Is that fair to say to the citizens who are asking?
Through the chair, members of council, yes, money can solve a lot of those timeline issues. Not all of them, you know, the project is still going to take a long time, but. And there's other things in the meantime where you got design, you got public input, you have, you know, the actual construction of the thing, but you also have. And typically it takes numerous years of chasing grants in order to try to lower your overall cost. So there are some steps in between.
Okay.
But certainly if we had the money and we started today, these could happen a lot sooner. The 10-year timeline was based on, and we looked at a bunch of different projects. That 10-year timeline was pretty consistent with all municipalities. You know, 8 years for 8 years for option 2. You know, again, we kind of based those off of a lot of communities who had built, you know, for example, pools, and by the time they got the money, they went through the design, they got the grants, it was roughly 8 years, but again, you know, those are best guesses. At this point in time, certainly could be sooner, but it all depends on how aggressive we want to be on pursuing these things.
I just, sorry, if I may, Madam Chair, just a comment. I do appreciate the presented format, the recommended publication. I think it's well written, easy to understand. So thank you.
And Councilor House?
Yeah, I'd like to move with the option 1, the committee refer the proposed recreation center modernization plebiscite questions to a regular meeting of council as presented. And if I could quickly speak to it, you know, I think this captures well enough, realizing that there are some still things that we can continue to share information with the public so that they can consider the 3 options, knowing too there may be some other costs, but I think it captures at least the intent of what we're looking for or what next council is looking for as to the direction for our rec center. So I'm happy with the way they are right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Nissen?
Thank you, through the chair to committee administration. I'll be supporting the direction as it's on the floor. Looks to me as good as we're likely to get on this kind of question. I am curious though, looking at, we've got 3 yes and no questions. Each one, it says every voter can vote for each option, yes or no, and the votes will be counted independently. I can predict a number of interesting behaviors from some in the general public on filling this out. I'm curious, what is the plan, if this is the question, on bringing back the data and the results to council? Are we going to get, you know, option 3, this many yes, this many no, 2 yes, no? Or are we gonna get a report on some of the ballots that, are we getting a lot of option 3 that say yes? And on those same ballots, they say no to the other 2. I feel that information might be just as valuable as the number of yeses. At the same time, it might be rather confusing. I don't know. We've never done a 3-question yes or no plebiscite before. I'm just curious what the plan is from administration on bringing that data back.
Yeah, through the chair, members of the council, we don't know for sure exactly how we'll present the data, but we will try to, I know exactly what you're talking about and the general trends of what people are putting in, so we will try to extract as much as we can and, you know, extract as much value from this process and give it to council as we can. I don't know exactly how we're gonna do that yet.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Oh, yes, sir, go ahead.
I just got a question regarding additional comments that we might get from the community. If they're frequent enough that they might be considered a inclusion in the FAQs, what's the best way to put those forward? Here, email?
Through the chair, Hinton Listens has been probably our best resource for that. So as people ask questions, and we see questions that we haven't answered yet that we think other people would want to know, we've been updating those frequently asked questions. So yeah, ask questions through Hinton Listens, and you'll get an answer, and we would, you know, we'll likely put it up on the reviews as well.
Perfect, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. So council, we do have a motion Are there any questions before I call the question? And nothing? The committee referred the proposed recreation center modernization plebiscite question to a regular meeting of council as presented. Please vote no. And that is carried. Thank you. Council, any other questions on this before we move on? And seeing nothing, we will go on to the next report, and that is 5.3. Include campground fees in the fees, rates, and charges bylaw 2001-4, and that's found on page 47 of your package.
And Chair, this one will go this way.
I'm sorry.
This one will go in this way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, CAO, through to committee this evening. Our campgrounds in town and out, the one that we have in town and out at Muscuda are currently managed by a contractor. However, the fees have not been addressed in a number of years. A large amount of research was done by Ms. Hope to determine what other communities are doing, how we compare with amenities, proximity to other recreational opportunities. And we've put together some recommended fees, which are located on page 68 of the attached bylaw. I will just note for council that we did consider a seniors rate. However, we've had a seniors rate and it becomes very difficult to police, especially by the operator. So ultimately, we've decided to remove that, but that can be looked at again, potentially with a new operator who actually has a mechanism for keeping good statistics and those kinds of things, which will be a requirement of the upcoming RFQ. So in the future, we may be able to revert back to including various youth fees or senior fees. However, at this time, we're just looking to kind of keep it pretty standard straight across the board. I can take any questions.
Thank you very much, and council, and go ahead, Councilor McGowan.
It's actually, the time was really cool, because I was just talking about Muscuda with some colleagues. How active is Muscuda in terms of rentals?
I believe there was, thank you for the question through the committee. I believe there was a little bit of information in here, or potentially it was included in one of the many attachments. It is quite busy. There are a few reoccurring events,
Okay.
where potentially we are missing out on quite a bit of revenues there because we're not necessarily charging by the unit and they'll bring in for like a full family reunion.
Thank you.
So it is quite used and does require some upkeep, but it is quite used. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you and thank you. Okay, I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome. Council, any other questions? I will certainly, and go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and through the chair to administration, the proposed rate changes for Muscuda, if I understand correctly, and Muscuda's got 16 sites. Currently, it rents out minimum 2 days booking at $350 for the weekend, effectively, for all 16 sites.
Correct.
And the proposal here, it adds a single night booking at effectively half the cost of 2 nights, but also limits the number of units on that cost to 10, and then adds additional costs beyond the up to the 16.
Correct. So right now you could book out the whole thing for, I think it was $250 or $350. And now there is a maximum and you can add more unit costs to get a more balanced price.
And the intention though is so a group books out, say only 10 units, that's still the full site. We're not trying to book out those remaining 6 sites in this particular campground, is that correct?
If they want exclusive use per night, maximum of 10 units. Correct. If somebody wanted to have a family reunion and book out, have exclusive use for, but they could only bring in the 10, we would probably work with them if they're like, oh, we're having a wedding, we'd like to use the other slots, and then we would charge them by the unit probably.
Okay, but when they book out those 10, we're not finding another group to book.
No,
out the
no,
remaining
no.
Spots to?
Correct. Because they're looking for exclusive use in that case, yeah.
So through the chair to committee, I'm not sure. I don't know what I think about the limiting or changing the fees at Muscuda to limit the number of booking units. If it's practice to book out the whole thing all at once, it's what we've done in the past. I don't see any real reason to add administrative complexity for something that's really not gonna add any revenues. I'm also curious about adding single nights, unless they're add-ons to a, multi-night stay. I don't see, based off of what I'm reading here, any reason to go to a single night stay bookings when we're successfully doing groups and it's booked out for the entire season pretty much. Thank you, Jeff.
You're very welcome, thank you. Admin, can you tell me again why we went from, they used to get the full 16 to now it's 10, and they will pay extra for the, why again?
Thank you for the question. What we were seeing is, so let's say that you have one, let's call it a camping stall, okay? They would try to pay for one camping stall and put 3 campers so that they could pay for the slot as opposed to per unit. And then we're seeing, additional garbages, it's harder to clean up, those kinds
So instead of 16 people camping there, there's 23.
of, or whatever.
Oh, okay. Wow, already, thank you. Council, is anyone prepared to make a direction or a motion? Go ahead, Councilor Ross.
Yeah, I'll take the recommended action. I'm comfortable with this, I definitely appreciate it coming forward. It's been a long time coming, so. I've moved that committee refer the draft fees, rates and charges by law number 2001-4 to a future regular meeting of council as presented.
Thank you, sir. Council, does anyone else want to speak on this? And seeing no one, I will call the question. That committee refer the draft fees, rates and charges by law number 2001-4 to a future regular meeting of council as presented. Please vote no. And that has been defeated.
I didn't vote.
I'm sorry, oh, you didn't vote.
I'm not here.
And that has been defeated. Councillor Hawes and Councillor Chambers have voted for, and Mayor Nissen, Magoo, Stashik, and Race have voted against. Thank you very much. Council, is there a different motion anyone would like to bring forward? And Councillor McGowan.
Just to give, I suppose, direction then, I'd like to see consensus that, a committee accept the report for information.
Thank you, sir. Council, we do have direction on the floor to receive this as information, and you need to speak to it, and Councillor Stashik.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to administration, if it's accepted as information, what happens moving forward?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Stashik. As previous fees were not included in the fee bylaw, their camping in Hinton would become free.
Oh.
Source of
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Something.
Heather, can you say that again?
Sure, as the fee bylaw is currently written, our 2001-3, the one that's currently administering fees for the town of Hinton, does not currently include anything related to campgrounds, because you may recall that some of our fees were not included in the previous policy or bylaw. Therefore, if this is accepted for information, there will be no fees for campgrounds in Hinton, and they will become free.
Thank you very much, Councillor McGowan.
Yeah, I'd like to withdraw the motion.
And we don't, we're, everybody okay with that being withdrawn?
Mhm.
CAO,
Thank you through the chair. Perhaps what we're after would lead to, because I think previously it was built into policy, or
This was outside the Parks Department, it's now coming within Parks, I can't speak to where it existed, I just know it was not in. The fee bylaw.
Okay, through the chair to members of the council, perhaps that, committee directs administration to return, bylaw 2001-4 to a future committee of the whole meeting, with the previous rates. Rate structure, yeah.
And who's gonna read that? You all?
Yeah, I made that, yeah, absolutely, thanks, Joe.
I just have to be honest, my concern was, you know, they could rent it out for 16 stalls, and then we went to 10, and then they paid additional fee for those 6. If that wasn't part of it, I was. Go ahead.
Would just like to point out, because I did gloss over it in the report, that based on the current fees, in case anybody missed it, we are not even offsetting our expenses.
And we're still giving wood for free. That was,
I believe so, have to double check. And that's right at the top of the analysis section.
Councilor Scott.
Yeah, I have to be honest, my concern wasn't so much that, the new rates and fees, it was what I thought were coming forward as amendments that were discussed around the table never came forward. So it was put as presented and I wasn't prepared to approve it as presented because I have concerns very much in line with what Councilor Ray said about, 10 or 16 and generating, less revenue, but they're still tying up the whole facility, so. I wanted to talk that out a little bit more, and I thought there'd be some amendments coming, but there never did, so.
I'm sorry. Would you like to speak to this? Go ahead.
Yeah, then for a courtesy, I'm happy to withdraw that to give those amendments potentially a chance to come around the table. I'd rather flesh that out if that's okay with council.
Is there any way we could make amendments to your direction up there? Instead of you having to withdraw?
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think the whole point of committee is to give people a chance to talk around these things.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like people had any other further amendments that they wanted to pursue, which is why, when the CAO made that suggestion, I thought we were just gonna pursue the non-change, rate structure. But again, I'd rather give our fellow councilors a chance to explore what they might wanna see in the bylaw before we put it together.
Okay, before I pull this, are there other councillors right now who want to make amendments or want to speak to this right now? Not to this, but to this, during the motion, but wanna have a discussion about this group. Okay, there is, okay, so. Everybody okay with, Ryan pulling this up? Direction? Yes, yes, okay, good. So then that's gone. Okay, I'll open the floor up for discussion. Mr. Mayor.
I'm gonna come back to Muscuda here and looking at the report, I read that the average booking in Muscuda includes 10 to 12 units. I understand it's a 16 site campground, but we often get bookings of 50 units. How does that work if it's a 16 site campground? Is there a big open field that people just park their RVs? What's that situation?
Thank you for the question. There is plenty of space. However, on the stalls, as I explained, they will cram as many in there as they can, which is why we're trying to add that additional unit price. But that is we see that, especially with the family reunions and whatnot.
Okay, and I'm not particularly familiar with the servicing down at the Muscuda Creek Campground, but do we have service bathrooms, garbage service? What are the services that we're offering now?
Thank you for the question. Currently, the contractor delivers the wood, does cleanup of the site, and there is a pit washroom there.
Okay. And when we get bookings of 50 units, what are the additional work that needs to happen to maintain the facility when we're overbooked like that?
My question, again, the contractor currently being used does not report into Parks, so it's hard for me to explicitly say. Parks is rarely called out there to do any of that cleanup. That is done mainly by the contractor. And they currently don't track. We don't have any statistics from the current contract.
I'll be good for now. I need to think about this for a second.
Council? So we did with, go ahead.
Just speaking for myself, and this is weird because there's no direction on the floor, but just, you know, sharing with the floor. I think one of the successes of Muscuda, because I've been down there a number of times, it is very popular. It's a really good facility. The fire pit area is really quite nice. I think, I feel statement is, that the flexibility of getting additional, units onto the site for big family functions, group functions, weddings, that sort of thing, is actually one of its strengths, because you don't get to do that when you go to Greg or Jarvis or those sorts of things. And really, when you're booking it as a group, you're bought into the notion of, okay, as Gordon and I are gonna be sharing this site, we can make our trailers work, who cares? You know, we'll be drunk for half the weekend, and that's fine. I know the people that are there. I think you don't have that obviously in the public venue, that's just not what it's built for. I would hate to over-regulate it, because then I think actually we lose some of that appeal of being able to take a really cool facility and use it for a family function or a work function. Whatever the case may be, that's just how I feel about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, and through the chair to committee, well, I would be in support at Muscuda of having a price for the full booking at a regular group size and a additional fee for a large group. Sounds like that might be where we're headed. I think if our average is 10 to 12 units coming in, they're booking up the whole site, having a family reunion, a get together, it is what it is, that's great, it's well within the infrastructure of the space, but then if you're gonna bring in 50 RVs and families, it's a lot more use, it's a lot more cleanup, a lot more strain on the infrastructure. I could see there being a number where we say, hey, this is a large group, it's gonna be an extra $150 for the extra porta potties and cleanup, or whatever the case may be. But I'm not into breaking it down by units when we're booking the full thing out to everybody already. And trying to police that, count units, people are putting multiple campers on a single unit, it just seems confused to me, so. I guess I'm gonna put out a direction request, all that said, the committee seek consensus to direct administration to amend the cost for the Muscuda Creek Group Campground to remove the single night option, the additional units option, and to include a large group fee and a proposed definition for large group. That works for me, committee. I included a few things in there and I'd be happy to break any one of them out if committee wants to discuss any independent.
Thank you. Council, we do have a direction on the floor, any discussion, and Councillor Stashik.
Thank you, Madam Chair, just that I'm in favor of the direction request. Those are the things that stuck out to me, group count for one night doesn't seem viable. And I think it's limiting to the other people who might want to rent it for multiple nights. Just if that person scoops it first and they want it only for Saturday night, that takes out everybody else who might want it for an entire weekend. And I also agree with the large group fee, rather than having to have the campground operator go out there and try and suss out what's a, child's tent that actually would have stayed in the trailer with mom and dad, except they want to sleep outside. Does that count? Does that not count? And trying to count how many units are there. I think it's easier just to say, no, there's less than 12 or there's more than 12. I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Councillor Ryan.
Oh, no, I'm good, yeah.
So committee, we do have a direction on the floor. And looks like I'm going to call the question right now. That committee seek consensus to direct administration to amend the cost for Muscooda Creek campground to remove the single night option, the additional unit option, and to include a large group fee and a proposed definition for a large group. Alrighty. And I blocked it on my screen. Council, are you seeing it on your screen where you are prepared to vote? I'm happy for you because I'm not. Okay, well, I will call the question. I'm voting in favor.
Disappeared now. Oh, it's back.
And I can't see how anybody else has voted other than those raising their thumb. Here, so if we could vote again, please. Are you seeing it on your screen? And you're voting yes?
Favor.
Okay. And we're just waiting for, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Is there further discussion on this from council? And,
So I do have a question.
yes, sir.
Are there any protections with these campgrounds, specifically Muscooda, in preventing large blocks of time from being monopolized from one particular group or anything like that? And I might be chasing after a problem that's not there. I'm just curious. Has that been a point of discussion from the operator?
Thank you for the question. Unofficially, I would say we have some anecdotal concerns brought forward to that.
Okay,
However, because we have no statistics, this isn't really something that's been included in any one service area.
Yeah.
That's the information we hope to glean over the next couple summers, and we'll bring it back and we'll take another kick at it.
cool. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, council, we're gonna move on to our third report from administration.
Madam
I'm sorry.
Chair,
Go ahead.
if there's no other amendments that council wanted to consider making, before we move on, I think we should give some direction to administration what to do with this.
Sure.
So I'm prepared to make a motion, but I don't want to jump in if council has other amendments that would be.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chair, and through the chair to committee. I'm curious if committee has any interest in making any amendments about firewood at Muscooda Creek. There is a recommendation in here to perhaps provide the firewood for the first 2 days, and then any additional deliveries have a cost to them, and I think that's relatively reasonable for the group site that is typically booked 2 or 3 days, but occasionally gets booked 3, 4, 7 days. Additional load of firewood, I think that they should absolutely pay for that if an option, but curious if committee's interested in seeing that. Seeing a couple nods, I'll put that out there, so I'm gonna make a direction request. I'm going to seek consensus, the committee, direct administration. To include. A charge for additional firewood deliveries. At the Muscootic Creek Group Campground. While that's being typed up, I think the firewood proposals for bundles at the Hinton Center Campground is sensical. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think especially in an age where we have regular fire bans. Including firewood in the cost of the site overall could in the future lead to complaints about, hey, I paid for firewood and I didn't get out of a fire. This takes away that risk altogether. But down at the group camping site, I think needs to be handled a little bit differently, and bundles would make no sense whatsoever.
Thank you, sir. Administration, are you finding evidence that people are hoarding the wood or they're loading their vehicle up and taking it out of the campground?
Thank you for that question. We've received no, I would say no. No recent complaints about people taking it out of there. However, there have, been a couple, they took more than this campsite, but.
I know at one time at Kinky or Wildhorse, there was an issue with people taking the wood. So we're not seeing that.
But again, we don't have the good statistics. I couldn't even tell you the volume of wood that's been brought over compared to what's left there. It's the only information I have is in it.
Okay. And do we pay the provider a monthly thing, or if they've got to haul more wood there because now we're charging, is that gonna cost us?
Thank you for that. Based on what council decides with the fees is how we will assess how the upcoming contract will be rewritten.
And Councilor McGowan?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, does the mayor's, direction, does it assume the 2 free nights, as outlined as a possibility in the report?
It does, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Chambers, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, I'm sorry.
Okay, through committee, just for clarification, in the Muscuda, or in these, it talks about in the report, the third party operator delivers a truckload of cut but not split wood to a woodshed or pile. So at some of these, is this assuming that every person that gets there, there's a bundle of wood that's delivered right into their campsite and it's not just one congregate wood pile where people go and get what they want? Like, is that what's happening there? Is that the campground operator's driving around right now and delivering them, or that's what we would want to see in this? Because I don't know if I recall from when I was out there, it seemed like it was just kind of a wood area where you went and got what you needed and it was in a giant pile. So would this motion change how the operator has to, I don't know, do business, I guess, for lack of a better word, or am I overthinking it?
Thank you for that question. Currently out at Muscuda, just a large load of wood is dropped off and they come and grab what they need. That's likely the same method that would be applied to specifically the exclusive bookings. And therefore, under this motion, they got X amount of wood brought out there. They call in, oh, we went through our wood. That'll be, $100 or whatever the fee ends up being.
So we would have to then, if we were gonna go with the motion on the floor right now, we would have to then change how firewood is managed at those sites so that they would be delivered wood to their individual sites on a daily basis and then have to contact somebody to buy wood later instead of how it's all sitting right now.
So, excuse me, ultimately, so if it's many different individuals have rented the site out at Muscuda. So they're not there as a group booking, there's multiple various groups. Currently, still, they just access the wood. However, based on what I understand, we're dropping off some wood and just kind of leaving it there. So we wanna be having our operators frequent, especially Muscuda, far more regularly under the contract to be able to deliver these services, but also, you know, be there to clean up. Let us know if there's issues with the washroom, et cetera, to be a little bit more involved than what we're currently seeing.
May I follow up, Chair?
Certainly.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the amount of money that we could be getting for a bundle of wood versus the amount of additional money we're gonna be paying the operator in a new agreement to be managing the wood, like, I just don't know if it's, I don't know what the right answer is, but like, this is not just about charging for a service that they're getting, this is completely changing the way that the service is delivered, I guess. I don't know, so I guess that's the intent, but.
Through the chair, I think what we're talking about is this would only apply to exclusive bookings. And when you make an exclusive booking, you get one delivery of the firewood, but if you do need more. And you want another truckload, you just have to pay for the additional, but if. For those weekends where everybody's just renting individual sites, it's the same way that we're doing it already. It's just if the contractor has to make another truckload out for an exclusive group, they just know they have to pay for that additional wood. But I don't think it changes. Materially, just when it's a normal campground, everyone can just go in, get the wood as needed for their own use.
So what you're saying is they initially the wood pile is free, if they have to go back and deliver another load, we're gonna be charging additional money.
Yeah, as an example, if I book a family reunion there, when I go there, my expectation is that there's going to be at least a truckload of wood
Yeah.
waiting for me, and that's part of my booking. But additional loads, if you know, you would have to have big fires, and we call the contractor to deliver another load, I just know that I have to pay for that.
I'm very
But it's
glad,
only for exclusive bookings is my understanding.
I'm glad you broke that down, you gave clarity, because I'm sitting here thinking. Camping is a joy to people, it gets them away from the stress that so many people are under right now. Camping is expensive, you gotta get your groceries, there's so much involved in camping, and now I gotta pay for wood. So I'm glad you broke it down. And Mr. Mayor, and then Councilor Stasher.
Thank you, and specifically with this motion and to Councilor Chambers' point, we're only talking about the Muscuda Creek Group Campground. Now, I have a clarifying question for administration though. As I understood it, at Muscuda Creek, we only book out groups and it's just one group at a time. Is that not the case? Are there multiple groups?
Occasionally that does occur, yes. What we typically see under the current model, to an earlier question, is that we do have some groups that return every single year and they book out the whole shebang. But we do have some where it's like, they may rent 3 and this group 1 over here, and group 2 may rent 2 other sites in their groups.
Okay, that's a little bit different than I understood it. My understanding was that a group books the whole thing. It's always a single group and that effectively they get a dump load of firewood at the start, the central location, and then if they run out of that firewood, they should have a mechanism to order more, I would think. Especially if they extend, but it does get more complicated with multiple groups at the site. You have to think about that for a moment.
CAO, and then, I'm sorry, CAO, you want to speak to this?
Just to your point, maybe if we just add just for exclusive bookings, because, you know, and I think in a lot of cases, my understanding is that our campground, if it's full and somebody wants to camp here, we'll, you know, use that sort of as overflow or something like that. So we will have multiple parties in there. But in that case, we're not, you know, it's just the wood is free. But I think that we would only be talking about ordering wood in the case of exclusive bookings. That's the only way you could really manage it.
Madam Chair, may I add that?
Want to follow up?
If I may,
Certainly.
I'd like to add the 2 exclusive bookings to the direction on the floor. As I moved it, I'd like to make that as a friendly amendment if there's nobody on committee that's opposed. And if not, I'll make it formally. It's a good discussion.
And that is an amendment to your initial direction?
it is to add to exclusive bookings. Make it more clear, as per the CAM.
Councillor, I'm sorry. I do have a bit of a lineup right now. Councillor Stashek?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, just a question for you. Are you accepting that then as a friendly amendment and that's the motion now?
Well, I'm wondering, do we have friendly amendments anymore?
You can ask if there's anyone opposed. If no
Yes,
one's
is
opposed,
there
you can-
anyone, so you know what, haven't done this for a while, so just bear with me. Is there anyone on council with amendment being added? Okay, we'll go.
Okay, so that, now I can ask my question then. So in the event that there is an exclusive booking and they use up all the firewood, is the campground operator expected to provide on-demand service to deliver more firewood?
Thank you for that question. I wasn't sure how to be.
Yeah, that-
Yeah, if that's it. Currently under the contract, no. However, that is something that we would likely, well, with this, we would have to include that into the contract, which I think would be manageable. Given the fact that, you know, they have to register, they do the booking, we wanna actually have some books for these now. They would know what they have to plan for the weekend. And of course, when taking those bookings, we would hope that the bookers would let us know, like, we think we'll probably go through all that wood.
Okay, I just wanted to know if it been thought that that would be manageable. If somebody phoned up on Saturday afternoon and said, we're out of wood, we need more wood before tonight. And that it could be achieved, and I'm gathering it could be, so it's good, thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. And Councillor McGill?
Yeah, I just actually, the other safety that I think, you know, given the 2 days and then saying, yeah, you need to go ahead and start ordering by the truckload. That it provides, it's a little bit of a deterrent. From those groups that might seek to capitalize and long-term book. In the facility, because it's like, sure, yeah, you can book for 7 days, but. Man, you're gonna burn through that wood in 2, and you're gonna have to start paying by the truckload. Do you really wanna take that site up for 7 days? And maybe we'll wait a week and give somebody else the chance to use it. So, yeah, I like that.
Thank you, sir. I do have just a quick question. If we have multiple different people booking over the campsite, do you take a look at who's booking it? Like we have a nice religious group booking it for Saturday, Sunday, and we have the Hells Angels have also put in. You know, if you don't want, you want a happy campsite, is that something the camp people would be looking at?
Thank you, Councilor Reyes. Unless individuals booking have a previous complaint or some sort of enforcement issue, no, we don't necessarily discriminate. If they do want exclusive use for one group or the other, they are welcome to purchase that. However, otherwise, we all get along with the other folks in the campground.
I would like to be there for that. Anyway, thank you very much. So council, we do have a direction on the floor. Anyone else want to speak to it? And no one is saying anything, so I will call the question. And, okay. The committee seek consensus that committee direct administration to include a charge for additional fire deliveries at the Muscooda Creek Campground to exclusive bookings. And Councilor McGowan has voted for, so let's all vote for cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. Council, is there any more discussion on this before we move on? And seeing nothing, and Councilor Hawes.
Well, I think we have to, unless there's any more amendments. I'm looking to see consensus that committee refers the draft fees, rates and charges bylaw number 2001-4 to a future regular meeting of council as amended.
And would you like to speak to it, sir?
Nope.
Yeah, I really apologize that I did not catch that. So, Mr. Mayor, anything?
Yeah, thank you, and direction request on the floor. I'm not gonna be in support of the direction as it's stated, because I'd like to see this come back to committee. I think that we've made some changes that I'm actually still a little bit confused about, to be honest. I'm not sure that I wanna have this conversation in council just yet. When it comes back, I think I'm interested in seeing in the committee. When this is done, I do have a follow-up on firewood in the Hinton Center campground. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. And in listening to the mayor comment on this, proposed motion, I too would move against it. Thank you. Any more comment on this, direction? So, yes, go ahead, sir.
Friendly amendment,
I'm sorry.
friendly amendment, I'll change it to committee of the whole. If that's fine with everybody. And there's no objections, I'll go to option 3.
We'll just wait till it comes back up. I'm sorry. Agree?
Yes, we just, Madam Chair, if you could check, because I'm amending my previous motion. So if the rest of council is in agreement to that first before you move forward, please.
No, I didn't catch any.
I amended it to the committee of the whole, so you have to check with the rest of committee if they are in favor or if there's any objections.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much, sir. So, committee, everybody okay with this amendment? Okay, so I'm going to, we're gonna call this right now. The committee refers the draft fees, rates, and charges bylaw number 2001-4 to a future committee of the whole meeting as amended. Could you please vote now?
Yeah, it disappeared. I'm in favor.
Councillor Magoon has voted with his hand, as has Councillor Stashik, and it is carried. Now, before we move on, yes, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, I would like to ask that question about the Hinton Center campground firewood. Councillor Chambers mentioned a number of concerns about bundles in our Muscuda discussion. How does the firewood currently work at the Hinton Center campground? And logistically, how confident are we in the transition to bundles not being a significant addition of workload?
Currently, thank you for the question. Currently, the operators actually remain on site. So I think under any circumstances or change, it will be more work. So factoring that in, whether we do split or not split, I think it's all gonna be fleshed out through the contract negotiations with a potential contractor to deliver that service. It is more practical to deliver create storage and deliver bundles at that site than out of town. So compared, it's not apples to apples.
If I may follow up.
You certainly may.
So as I understand it, the decision of council to add a charge for firewood bundles at the Hinton Center campground, if we did it today, under the existing contract, we wouldn't actually be able to deliver on that.
No, under the existing contract, if we transitioned to bundles, they could simply walk over and place it there, because they are on site.
Do
Under
they have to bundle them?
you can purchase them bundled, so that of course would have to be factored into what we're paying the contractor to do their work, and whether they're purchasing the wood or the town of Hinton is purchasing the wood. Whether we're paying to store the wood, all of those things. However, under the current contract, I believe it would be totally feasible. In future, if that group, that contractor is not living on site, it wouldn't be as easy to do like the one-off requests like we've just done out at Muscuda. I think it's like you book for 3 nights, you buy your bundles, you let us know in advance, they get dropped off when you check in.
And when is the contract RFP going out?
It will be in place for next summer. I would have to double check on the actual date of expiry.
Okay. May I follow again, Chair?
Certainly.
Thank you. So, with all of that in mind, from an administration standpoint, is it better for council to set firewood fees and charges before the RFP process, or would we be better off seeing what those RFPs come in and taking an accurate assessment of what our cost differences are between unbundled, bundled? Sounds to me like there is a cost difference between delivering the two services, and potentially we might actually end up going the wrong direction from our cost standpoint, and up bringing in more expenses and same amount of revenue.
Thank you for that question. Arguably, I would say that setting the price allows us more of a negotiating tool when creating the contract. Which we can always return the fees back prior to executing the contract if it's gonna be cost prohibitive for us.
Excellent, thank you, Chair.
You're good?
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan.
No worries.
Go ahead, please, sir.
Sorry, I wanna clarify, the hidden campground is still functioning under the large wood pile. Methodology. So with that, have we had any complaints from the contractor that there's any abuses or that's an unsustainable method outside of negotiated price for contract services? Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
So, the mayor is left. Is anybody opposed to moving on? And what I'm gonna do right now is just call a break until the market is back before we move on. Second and vote.